Interesting. The sun sets early during winter, falling below the horizon by 4 in the afternoon. Evening seemed to arrive at the mansion earlier than in the city.
なるほど。君の生態はよくわかった。
Cool. Sojiro sat alone, sipping his warm tea in the chilly room. He relaxed on the couch, staring out the window, having had his fill of crocodiles. Once he sprawled out on the sofa, his body refused to move. Maybe he had always wanted to try it. After 3 straight hours of crocodile watching, he wondered what it would be like to laze there for the remainder of the day, as he nervously checked over his shoulder. Just as he was considering taking the opportunity to nap into Alco and Alice returned, an unfamiliar sound echoed through the halls of the mansion. Undergoing a sluggish evolution of his very own, he rose from all fours to being a bipedal. There was a knocking sound at regular intervals. The sound, distinctly coming from the front door, was more familiar now. He had experienced it before during his days in the apartment.
新聞の勧誘か?
Why would a newspaper salesman come all the way up the hill just to... What? As he made for the foyer, Sojiro noted how impressed he was that they had hiked all the way up the hill. I don't know if it's a newspaper salesman, Sojiro. The sound resounded eerily. Without a doorbell of any kind, visitors had no choice but to rap on the door using whatever they had in hand. It would take an iron-clenched fist to produce that kind of sound. From his position in the hall, the front door looked like an ornately built fortification. The strong double doors looked as though they could withstand any onslaught of blows. They rattled in protest to the repeated knocking. Try as this person might, it seemed no amount of enemy attack could breach the castle gate. But Sojiro, having experience selling newspapers himself, announced himself.
はい、今開けます。
He knew what it was like to be in their shoes, so was unsurprised by their unwillingness to surrender. Oh, hi! You're the lady that we ran away from at the pachinko place, aren't you? There stood the second surprise today. Sojiro stood speechless and motionless. The young woman hardly looked the part of a newspaper salesman. Standing in the courtyard against the backdrop of the dusk horizon, she looked more suited to being a resident of this Western-style mansion, at least more so than Sojiro. Oh, thank you for the thigh shot. She had a dainty frame, but a striking presence nonetheless. She was a little shorter than Sojiro, but tall for a woman. Her light green clothing was delicate yet flashy, and clearly something out of foreign fashion. Bold but prim and proper. Though slightly loud, her appearance spoke of strength and confidence. The kind of woman not to be trifled with that Sojiro knew all too well. So she's a magi? Only, unlike the ones he knew, this woman appeared more friendly than intimidating. Isn't she the lady we ran from at the pachinko place, like way back in like chapter 2 or 3? Okay. Or no, was it chapter 1.5? It might have been chapter 1.5. I don't know. Perhaps it was her short hair that made her look approachable. Bright and brown, it stopped just above the nape of her neck. Sojiro, yet to say a word, thought what a shame it was to be so short. Okay. She looked at him and offered a smile. Despite looking older than Sojiro, this made her appear impish and cute. Okay. Are you gonna say anything, Sojiro? Or Sojiro knew himself to be made of stronger stuff than to fall for cute smiles, and found it more than a little suspicious. Wait, if he gets the feeling that he gets from Aoko and Alice, is she might be a magi. And if he's falling for a cute smile, that she might be charming him. At any rate, it was rude to stare for so long.
どちら様でしょうか?
He asked shyly, steeling himself. To which she replied,
こんばんは。青子います?
This isn't Toko, is it? No, there's no way. Actually? Is it Toko? No, right? I kind of... I think it's Toko. She smiled as she used Aoko's first name with a sense of familiarity.
Aozaki はいないんです.
She smiled, this time deviously upon learning of Aoko's absence.
それじゃあ、クオンジさんも留守なんだ。
Yeah? Sojiro looked perplexed. This was the first time he had heard Alice referred to by her last name only, and again spoken with customary respect.
そっか。夜ならともかく日中から二人で出かけるとは感心感心。形だけの雑居だろうと思ったけど、ちゃんとうまくいってるのね。
I mean, well, kind of. Sojiro found himself nodding in response to her smile. Though it was clear she knew Aoko and Alice, she was giving him an uncomfortable feeling. Yeah, likely in her mid-20s, she did not appear that much older than he was. Behind her carefree tone and bright smile, he was clearly trying to hide something.
それじゃあ帰ってくるにしても夜?
Probably not.
はい、終電前には帰ってくると思いますけど。
そう。ところで君、誰?
Yo, that's a fair question. You know, because if she knows Alice and Aoko, obviously I'm operating under the assumption that this is Toko for now. But you know, Toko's not like 8 years older than Aoko, though, is she? I don't know. But again, assuming this is Toko, she obviously knows Aoko and Alice are magi, and even if it's not Toko, she probably knows that. So she's like, what? Okay, like, why the fuck are you here? Sojiro, ever so troubled by her forwardness, wanted to ask her the same. Yeah, fair. Alas, who are you? Was the question far too difficult for Sojiro?
すみません。誰かと言われてもよくわからなくて。
What do you mean you don't know how to answer?
とりあえず、今は留守番してますけど、実は青崎の友人なんです。
I don't know how this answer will fare with this person. A response with not an ounce of truth to it. The young woman's face lit up at what she believed was the boy's attempt to tease her. Uh-huh.
へえ、面白いこと言うのね、君。名前はなんて言うの?
I don't know if we should tell you.
静木宗十郎というのですが。
His shy answer made her giggle. Sojiro couldn't understand what he said that was so funny, but her laugh didn't offend him. Rather than seeming derogatory, it came across as warm and affable. Uh-huh. Then, after finishing giggling, she looked him straight in the eye and gave him a soft look.
いや気に入ったわ。宗十郎くんだっけ？
Uh-huh.
君には合わない名前だけど、それも暗示的で素敵だし。じゃあそういうわけで、お茶でも入れてくれない？
I don't think you can just walk in here. Okay.
あ、いや。
She stepped past him into the mansion and swiftly left him at the door.
うわ呆れた。ほんと以前のまんまじゃない。せっかくこっちに持ってきたんだから、悪いところはリフォームしたものと思ったけど、何も柱の歪みまで再現しなくてもいいのにね。
Yeah, I guess. She said cheerfully, inspecting the foyer. Sojiro still stood at the entrance. The clicking of her heels on the wooden floor jumped around as she moved towards the drawing room.
どうしたの？こっちでしょ？今は。
I mean, yes, but I don't think you. Who are you? Again, I think I know who you. No, Toko wouldn't dress like that, though, would she? I don't know. She disappeared from the foyer into the drawing room, oddly familiar with the layout of the house.
青崎かアリス、どっちかの先輩かな。
Sojiro muttered to himself, walking to the drawing room. He entered to see the woman walking around the room gleefully. Like a child seeing a park the first time in ages. Breathing in the nostalgia. Twirling as girls... Twirling as girls are wont to do. Okay.
よく見れば、このテレビって。
She stared at the television inquisitively, perhaps owing to the fact that she had never seen a 30-inch television before. Awkwardly, the TV was still displaying images of the wild animal kingdom. Uh-huh. Sojiro wished he would have stopped the video before he answered the door. Yeah.
もし
He blurted out, attempting to regain his composure. He had many questions, but first he resolved himself to, at the very least, ask her name. With that, she turned to him with a cold look on her face. He glared at Sojiro over her glasses, her long and slender brows pointing at him as if to hint at a threat. What do we do? A gaze that made him feel like he had chosen his words very poorly. Sojiro apologetically clammed up. The young woman moved in.
やだな、宗十郎くん。もしなんてかしこまって。
What's so wrong with that?
私そんなおばさんに見える？
I mean, no. She laughed. Her disapproving glare melted into a teasing smile. Of course not. It would be more accurate to say she had the air of an older sister. This is definitely Toko. This is 100% Toko. Or at least that's how Sojiro attempted to reply using only gestures, to which she grinned smugly.
よろしい。ならそんな他人行儀な話し方はやめましょう。つまらないし柄じゃないわ。
Okay. Nice legs, she said, taking a seat on the sofa. Naturally and effortlessly, and without making a sound. Her posture and movements exuded sophistication. Do they now? Do they? And she required no words to instruct him to hurry along and make the tea. Without pressing her further, Sojiro headed to the kitchen. He figured she wouldn't talk until she had some tea. Yeah, probably. He chose the falchion he was forced to replace once before, after using it without permission. Since she was here to see Aoko, he would serve her the tea in Aoko's teacup. Into the cup as blue as the ocean depths, he carefully poured the tea before returning to the drawing room. Gently, he placed the teacup on the table and looked at the woman.
尋ねるのが遅れましたけど、青崎の知り合いかな?
Despite being told otherwise, Sojiro could not help but stand on ceremony. He would actively have to try not to. Displeased or disappointed, she glared at him once again.
その青崎っていうのをやめてくれない？なんだかくすぐったくて。青子でいいでしょ？呼び方は。
Why? Because Aozaki is your last name too? Or your family name? She said, not at all upset, as she slowly raised the cup to her lips to take a sip. Okay, you're sure? It was the kind of moment Aoko and Alice might react to by berating the boy, but the woman chose to brush off with a smile. Though he didn't realize it in that moment, he would soon enough understand that some people did appreciate his efforts, regardless of whether they were misguided. Okay.
ほら、立ってないで座って。見下ろされるのは好きじゃないんだ、私。
Okay. Sojiro tilted his head, noticing a slight familiarity to the manner of her speaking. Almost as if he had been talking to almost as if he had been talking to someone he had seen before. Looking at her sitting on the sofa, forgotten memories began to rise to the surface. Noticing his reaction, she became visibly delighted.
思い出した？私もちょっと驚いたわ。
Okay, so she is the lady from the pachinko parlor.
青子を訪ねに来たらいつか見た君が出迎えてくるんだから。
Now that she was laughing, Sojiro remembered everything. He had only seen her for an instant, but there was no mistake it was her. It had to be her. The woman smoking the long cigarette winning at the pachinko parlor. Yeah, Toko smokes in, Kara no Kyokai. Yeah, this is definitely Toko. 100%.
あの時は私もショックだったな。宗十郎くん、目が合うなりいきなり逃げ出したでしょ？
His instincts kicked in. I don't know what to tell you.
そんなに私ってこわもてなのかしらって、あの日の晩は真剣に悩んだんだから。
She clearly enjoyed the memory. Yeah. She was right. He mistook the shadow he had seen in the park for this woman and ran. Though he had learned it was Aoko a day later. Even though it was clearly a case of mistaken identity, he now knew why he had thought them one and the same.
そうか、雰囲気が似てるんだ。
Yeah. Finally, He had realized the true identity of the woman before him. He chided himself for not realizing it sooner.
それじゃあ、あなたは
Just as he was about to say it, she held up her hand to interrupt him. She pointed at him like she was aiming a gun. Maybe she
ごめんな
is.
さい。君の仕草がちょっと可愛くてからかいが過ぎちゃった。
Okay.
自己紹介が遅れたけど、私は青崎瞳子。
Okay, I was right. Like there was, she looks very different, but the hair is a similar color to Aoko's, which is weird because I would have thought that Toko's would have been red by now, but you know, I guess maybe just not. She also is not far enough along to have red hair yet, in terms of using magic, I guess. And I don't know. Her head, her look, aside from the hair color, looks very similar to how Toko looks in Fate Extra. Just she has brown hair rather than purple. But you know, the short hair, the glasses, it makes sense.
率直に言うと、青子の実の姉ってわけね。
That figures. He should have known. With a smile that could impart courage to any that glanced upon it, Toko looked just like how Sojiro imagined Aoka would be in the not-too-distant future. It all made sense. While Aoka was earnest and diligent, Toko was shrewd and playful.
あの子が困ってるって聞いてね。
Oh.
いい加減忠告してあげる気で、はるばるやってきたわけなのでした。
Don't you hate each other? Or at least, doesn't she hate you? Or one of them hates the other, don't they? I'm pretty sure that's what... I don't know. Aoko's sister chuckled coyly while sipping her tea. Lured by her charm, Sojiro sat on the sofa as well. He felt like he could relax a little now that the initial shock of receiving an unexpected guest had subsided. Just like that, it was almost 5 in the afternoon. Aoko and Alice would be returning from their excursion soon. Uh-huh. Or... Okay, I thought we were in a completely different place rather than a subway. This was Misaki City's only subway line. Only half a year had passed since its opening, and at the end of the fairly new platform, there the two girls stood. The time was 6:30 in the evening. They had been idling for around 20 minutes since returning from Arasaka, and had yet to return to street level.
青子。
Yes? There was a hint of irritation in Alice's voice.
ちょっと待って。あともう一回だけ。ね。
What? One more what? Aoko begged Alice, hands together trembling from the cold. It was rare to see her act this childish. There's no doubt Tobimaru would consider this behavior more strange than cute if he were there. From the end of the platform, Aoko peered into the creeping darkness to where the tracks led.
あなたの趣味変わってるわ。
What? Alice muttered, sitting on the bench with forbearance. Any other day and she would have been fine heading back by herself, but today she was in a good mood and decided to humor Aoko. Okay. If possible, she would have liked to return still in good spirits, as such spells of positivity, for her at least, tended to dissipate sooner rather than later. Eyes calmly closed, her placid demeanor conveyed her feelings well enough. Thus the two of them waited on the platform alone for a subway train they had no intention of riding. The recently opened subway. High prices and low familiarity made for relatively few passengers coming from Misaki City. Thanks to the low foot traffic, the platform was still good as new. There was something primeval about a subway devoid of people. Yeah, I can see that. Bit creepy. It was a picture of tranquility, free of human interference. Lifeless and silent. A land unmolested by living creatures, where only speechless organisms dwelt. The artificial fluorescent lighting highlighted its soullessness. It was a cave where the light ended and the shadows began. Riderless vessels disappearing into the dark. The platform wedged between two tracks, like a jetty stretching out into a subterranean sea of black. In this place, far removed from the world above, Aoko waited with eyes closed for the familiar rumble. She enjoys the feeling of the vibrations of the trains coming in, I guess. It was Aoko who proposed that to delay their return and wait on the platform. The reason was simple. Aoko Aozaki enjoyed the soothing sound of passing subway trains. Oh. Okay.
今年はもうライブハウスに行けそうもないし、これぐらいのわがままはいいでしょ?
Fair enough, she said to Alice, her eyes still closed. Alice didn't even nod as 3 trains had already passed following her decision to stay with Aoko. Silence again. Aoko waited for the next train with anticipation. Alice sat and stared at the wall of the subway patiently. According to the display board, the next train was due to arrive in 5 minutes. From the dark tunnel came wind and rumbling. A purposefully placed bounded field now surrounded the platform. There was no sign of any station personnel, and entrances and exits were few and narrow. With the lack of bystanders, the field was hardly necessary. Suddenly, 6 figures appeared in front of the stairs leading to the surface. All sharing the same face. Motionless and with smiles like the crescent moon, they stared at Aoko and Alice.
鈍っているにも程があるわね。
Yeah. Alice let out a quiet sigh.
え、どうかした？アリス。
Aoko, come on, you're under attack.
どうも何も。この駅で降りたのはあなたと私だけなの。気づいていた？
そりゃね。相変わらずここの地下鉄ってば利用客が少ないって。
Yeah. Aoko cut herself off by tutting in annoyance.
で、そういうアリスはいつ気がついたの？
憂鬱なことにたった今よ。青子ばかり責められないわね。あなたと私が一つならこんなこともなかったの。
I mean, it kind of says, yeah.
つまらない例え話は口にしない。
Never moving or making eye contact, their words stoic and calm. In contrast, the figures near the stairs began to stir. They advanced in unison on all fours, as though regressed to a quadrupedal state. Like human-sized ants, one after another they swarmed forth. The din of clattering came not just from the platform entrances, but from the subway tunnel as well. At a glance, they numbered at least 30 strong. There's no way they're all as strong as that one from the park, right? There's no way. They have to be like mass-produced, weaker ones. The creepy sound of skittering echoed off the subway walls.
信じられない。これだけの自動人形集めたらうちどころかフランスの一等地も買えるんじゃない？
ええ。もっともこんな出来じゃ買い手は見つからないでしょうけど。
なんだ、ガラクタはガラクタか。
Huh? One of the horde leapt forward in response to Aoko's insult. Yeah, it was a sudden charge, like a hurtling dump truck. Alice remained still. As though expecting the attack, Aoko swung her right arm in an arc. The blue missile of light was easily repelled. Her magic bullet, Snap, had little to no effect against the puppets. They scrambled over each other like frogs, heads jerking and twisting in search of prey.
全部で30か。悪いけど一人でやらせてもらうわよ、アリス。この前の実力と思われたままじゃ不愉快だ。
Is that a good idea? As she spoke to Alice, who was still standing next to the bench, Aoko stepped toward the edge of the platform. From the myriad of regrets she still had from the amusement park, the House of Mirrors stung the most. She was caught off guard in a previous engagement with those puppets. With adequate preparation and confidence, and Alice's backup, she would not let that happen again. Igniting her magic crest, she would have revenge and be vindicated from.
私の後ろまで下がって青子。そこにいたらあなたまで食べてしまう。
What? It took Alice raising one finger to the sky for Aoko to stop. What are you gonna do? Um.
待って、アリス、それは。
In the depths of the ocean black, the bells of night chimed out. The jetty, as if embraced by a sea god like Poseidon or Watatsumi. I assume Watatsumi is the sea god of Japan. Was awash with white particles.
青子のやり方じゃ跡が残るでしょう。
Oh, is she gonna destroy them completely and leave no trace?
もうじき次の電車も来るし。それに。
From beyond the white veil, her form blurred and stretched upward on tiptoes. Like a melancholy ballerina. The figures surrounding the prima ballerina bristled in response to the strange aura. Though puppets were inhuman mystical vessels, they had far more reason to fear Alice than they did the human Aoko. They began to flee. Is Alice really that terrifying? Whoever their master was, they sensed enough danger to order a retreat. However, it was too late. The lead dancer in this ballet had them captivated, unable to move, as if their Achilles tendons had been severed.
それに。気分を台無しにされたのはあなただけじゃないわ。
She removed her black glove. Unlike her mansion demeanor, her cool aura morphed into a fierce, biting cold one, freezing all in their tracks. Gloves floated to the ground. The white haze grew ever thicker. The massive shadows cried out for mercy. I like how,
ごっこ遊びをしましょう。
I was gonna say I like Alice's theme, but within the dense, nebulous mists, a dark fairy tale manifested. From inside, the only thing seemingly real was the sound of her voice, a macabre melody. Jesus Christ! You say Aoko leaves the mess? Or is this a different place? No, this is the subway still. Feasting, grinding, crunching. At last, the final puppet fell. On the walls, on the floor, on the ceiling. The tragic sounds of their demise filled the air. Alice? Their twisted shrieks plastering the subway surfaces like indelible blood-like stains. All 30 of the puppets, promptly yet slowly as though to savor their taste, were completely devoured by the mystifying monster. All save one appendage, a lonesome severed arm on the platform.
持ってきてたのあれ。
Yeah, I guess for emergencies. Aoko spoke sideways to Alice, making no attempt to hide her disgust. A beast of the fog. One of her great three ploys kickshaw. The Meinster's Rosehound, Wandersnatch. It was a name carrying immense violence and devastation. Aoko's words stung, since Alice was the one harboring its true form. Okay. The great three ploys wielded terrifyingly powerful curses. It was one thing to carry it around for self-defense, but keeping it a secret from her companion did not amuse Aoko in the slightest. It was like going out to eat with a grenade in your pocket. yeah, I can see ya.
まあ、次からは一言お願いね。他のプロイならいいけど、今のやつだけは別よ。できれば洋館限定にしてほしいぐらい。
I mean, he just kind of I mean, fair, but like, you know, he was effective.
悪かったわ。でも最近何も食べさせてなかったから。
And you were expecting to be able to feed him today? Oh. Alice walked slowly along toward the puppet arm rolling along the platform. What had just occurred made perfect sense. It needed to eat, so she let it eat. Yeah, I guess. But the beast could not be seen, and there was no bloodshed on account of the victims being made of plastic.
Aoko, ちょっと。
Alice said, picking up the puppet arm.
これを見て。私たちは今まで相手を人形使いと思っていたけど、正確には違ったみたい。
Okay.
わかる？この人形たちは新しすぎる。この子たちが作られたのは17世紀以後よ。それはそれで信じがたいことだけど。
Why?
なんですって？
Though sounded contradictory, automata typically performed better with age. Okay. After the 17th century, as the magical concept of using puppets and mannequins declined, automata suitable for combat became harder to produce. In recent years of automata manufacturing, even low-rank familiars to be used in training could be produced inexpensively and with relatively decent quality. Therefore, it was common for modern puppet masters to collect parts made before the 17th century and use them in their creations. The high price of automata often came not from their combat abilities, but the rarity of the parts used to make them. However, the enemy mage controlling these puppets used them as fodder, as if they grew on trees. The only conclusion that could be made, therefore, was that their current opponent was a spoiled, rotten upstart mage with no territory of their own to control. I guess it makes sense. Or so Alice and Aoko imagined anyway.
それともう一つ。この構造は三崎氏の結界に似ているわ。まるで自分たちこそがこの町を守る兵士だって主張するぐらい。
Okay. Alice presented the evidence to Aoko, who was waving away the fog from around her. She felt profound surprise, and then rapid realization.
そういうことなのね。
What? What? Aoko muttered to herself, violently hurling the arm against the platform. Her face twisted with anger and a hint of fear. I know Toko uses puppets, or has puppets, in Kara no Kyokai. So, is this her work? And Aoko's realizing that now?
惜しげもなく骨董品を出してくると思ったら、そもそも出し惜しむほどのものじゃなかったわけか。確かにあの女なら町の結界にも反応しないし、私の欠点も知ってて当然。視点の退去だって簡単にやってのけるわよね。
So it is Toko's. Then why?
だって。
Alice quietly looked on in bemusement at Aoko's furious rambling.
青子、これを作ったのはそうなの？
Yeah.
昔から物を作ることに関しちゃずば抜けていたからね、あの人は。
Aoko glared at the severed arm, furious at its creator and herself for taking so long to figure out it was her.
でもようやく合点がいった。認めたくないけど、今回の敵は間違いなく私の姉貴。
Yeah, the big sister is currently sitting in your foyer, or not your foyer, your drawing room.
この土地の元継承者、青崎東子、その人よ、アリス。
Yeah. The desolate subway platform returned to silence. Aoko's words lingering uncomfortably in the air. This is gonna be I was gonna say this was gonna be dramatic, but right before I said dramatic, that popped up. I was like, huh? A short time ago, at the Konji estate, the videotape finished playing. The VCR had automatically stopped playback, foregoing the need to hit the stop button to avoid the static storm. What remained on screen was the reflection of Sojiro and Toko Awazaki sitting opposite each other in conversation. Or Awazaki Toko.
秘密を知られたから先制なしの直接攻撃ね。怪獣作を考えもしないのは青子らしいけど。
Okay. It was hard to tell if she was being patronizing or indifferent. Awazaki Toko took a sip from her cup as she listened to Sojiro's story. She would have savored the anecdote about the amusement park kerfuffle if it weren't for the poor excuse for a cup of tea in her hands.
ありがとう。参考になったわ。
Uh-huh.
ここしばらく青子とは顔を合わせていなかったから、あの子がどんな風に成長したかなんて想像するしかなかったし。
Currently she wants to kick your ass, but her growth is probably it's important.
それと一応肉親として謝っておかないとね。
Uh-huh.
災難に付き合わせて悪かったわ、宗十郎くん。
Thanks.
ほんとあの子ったら昔から迷いってものがなかったから。
なさすぎると思います。
Oh, they're agreeing. That's good. Sojiro was enjoying the conversation, despite having to relive those events. About an hour passed by while the two of them sat in conversation, neither short on topics to discuss. Alco was an easy topic for both of them, so the conversation centered mostly around her.
ところでさっきから気になってることがあるんだけど聞いていいかな。
Yeah? With courteous posture, her eyes shine with curiosity. She's gonna ask about the collar, isn't she? Her elegant demeanor caused Sojiro's heart to beat faster.
気になってることですか？
Despite his caution, he could not help but show deference to her. Whether Toko found Sojiro charming or not was unclear as she affectionately smiled at him.
ええ、一度目はダッシュで逃げられて驚いたけど今日は違った意味で驚かされた。ね、そういうのが若い子たちの流行りなの？
I knew it.
はい。
Toko tilted her head, her eyes fixated on the collar that Alco had given him snugly wrapped around his neck.
新手のチョーカー？でもどこから見てもほら。
A dog collar? Yeah. Yeah. The bespectacled woman did her best to hold her tongue. On a completely unrelated note, in another decade, similar accessories would become a standard part of any visual kei artist's wardrobe. Yeah.
まさかどこから見ても首輪ですよ。犬用の。
Yeah.
やっぱり？けどその首はすごく可愛いわ。よく似合ってるけど自分でつけたの？
Not really by choice. Well, it was either this or poison. So, yeah. Also, what do you mean it suits him? Excuse you. Toko stared intently, examining the strap. Well, he had never been very conscious of the collar till now. For some reason, Sojiro found himself blushing.
はい。つけたのは自分です。
Yeah! Okay! Yeah, okay. Covering for Alco, head ass.
そうじゃなくて誰からもらったの？青子？それともクオンジさん？
Actually, Alice found it very distasteful.
くれたのは青子ですね。
Toko simply nodded in satisfaction at Sojiro's candid response.
つまり君は青子の持ち物なわけか。
Well, not, yeah. It's more to keep us in line. She coldly muttered. With this, the cordial atmosphere began to turn. Sojiro nodded, naturally oblivious to the sting of her words. Or the sting in her words.
何でも所有されてるそうです。
He said casually, causing Toko to burst out in laughter. Toko was the quirky type of person to laugh when least appropriate. As her laugh tapered off into a giggle, she picked up her now empty teacup.
じゃあこれも青子のでしょ。青っていう名前にコンプレックスがあるくせに青いものが割と好きだから。
そうですけど、おかわりしますか？二人ともまだ帰ってきそうにありませんから。
いいえ、そろそろ帰ってくる頃よ。そういう風に仕向けたから。
Was you sending? No, her sending those after them had to have. Well, that couldn't have just been her like prodding them to move along, right? Sojiro casually nodded, still clueless to the premeditation of her visit. But then the strangeness of her phrasing dawned on him, and he tilted his head in confusion.
トウコさん
Toko sighed once in response.
ごめんね、宗十郎くん。メガネ外してもいいかしら。
No. No, I would rather you didn't, actually. He wondered why she would need to ask his approval, but nodded anyway to confirm his consent.
それじゃあお言葉に甘えて。もう少しぐらいは君の反応を見ていたかったけど。
Toko touched the temples of her glasses. If you would look close enough, you might have noticed how her slender fingers were scarred. Small, fine scars from years of repeated cuts. Instantly, her glasses fell away from her face, resigned to their fateful fall. It happened so fast, Sojo barely understood what he saw. The frame cracked into pieces as it slid down her face and onto her lap.
やるもんだ。30体を一瞬とはね。
Toko? Toko could sit behind her veneer no longer. Are her glasses like a special magical item to prevent her from like alters her personality or something? By removing her glasses, the elegant lady of moments ago is gone. Any semblance of warmth and kindness disappeared. What sat on the sofa was one deplorable mage, her demeanor darkening the room. And Sojiro just unfazed. Sojiro sat speechless on the sofa. Across from him was a completely changed Toko, glaring back at him menacingly. More malice and magical energy was now emanating from Toko than when Aoko tried to kill Sojiro. She sat, titillated at the prospect of the young boy's shock and fear at her transformation. Such expectations, however, were often left unfulfilled when it came to Sojiro. Yeah.
メガネ壊れましたね
I love that response. Sojiro blurted out in surprise. She's like, what? Her hand stopped as she reached for a cigarette. The wind had taken out of her sails.
もったいない大丈夫ですかそれ
Bruh.
いや、そんなものはいいんだ。多少視力が落ちたところで大ごとにはならないし。そもそも私がある限り、五感による情報にすら主観が入る。すべてこの世は霧の中だ。もともと目に見えるだけのものは信じていないたちでね。
Sure. Whatever you say. Her speech had taken on a clinical tone. It's kind of hot, not gonna lie. I mean, what? I'm sorry. This too did not seem to shake Sojiro.
そうですかそれでさっきの言葉の意味ですけど
Bradley. Oh yeah. Sojiro began unflinchingly. Toko scowled back at him. After some consideration, she came to the conclusion she needed to be blunt with the boy. By some twist of fate, it was a headache she now unknowingly shared with her sister.
意味も何もない。青子たちの帰り道に多少の障害を置いただけだ。私がここにいる間は、 外で足止めをするよ。
Okay. So, okay.
君は青子の持ち物だと言ったな。ならことさら丁寧に教えてやる必要もない。告白してしまうとね、宗十郎君。私が君たちの敵なんだ。
I mean, I wouldn't say we're merely her property. But yeah. Though he understood her words, the clock's second hand would rotate fully twice over before anyone next spoke. They sat across from each other, eyes locked. Sojo's shoulders tightened nervously. He had finally understood the true danger of the situation. Uh-huh.
驚いた。
Toko asked with a grin. Despite the spitting image of each other without her glasses, Toko's smile was rather sinister.
あなたは青崎の姉なのに。
Yeah. Her smile pierced him as he asked the obvious. Toko was no longer surprised that Sojiro would be more concerned about the safety of others over his own. In just one short hour, she had come to understand Sojiro Shizuki better than he knew himself.
逆だよ。姉だから敵なんだ。私には青子からあらゆる権利を奪う義務がある。物質的なものも精神的なものも、その全てを踏みにじらなければ気が済まない。
That's kinda fucked up.
尺度として言うなら、もし青子がこの町に頼っていたのなら、まず町から壊していたぐらい。けど、君のことは予想外だった。
How do you mean? What do you mean? What you like? Obviously knew we would be here. If you said you put obstacles in their way to prevent them from getting here faster, right? So, were you not expecting us to be the way we are? Or him to be the way he is, I should say? Toko, her eyes closed, felt sorrow. Behind her troubled expression, there was a silent conflict.
世の平等に起こるべきか、偶然の出会いとやらに嘆くべきか。これも抑止力というやつかな。
Wait. What? Whoa. What do you mean? I think what? Is she saying like what? Okay, I'm like I honestly have no clue what she could mean by that. I'm just gonna move forward and see if it.
無垢な部外者を手にかけるのは世の常だが、この手合いにあったのは初めてだ。いや、そもそもいるなどと考えたことすらなかったな。
Toko sighed at the ceiling and stirred in her seat. She seemed to have overcome an unexpected moment of uncertainty.
君は青子の切り札には見えない。
What, huh?
排除しておくまでもない、善良かつ無能な部外者だ。
That's a bit rude.
だから放っておきたいのだけど、私の六感がこう告げているんだ。君を逃がすな。いいからさっさと済ませてしまえ。と。
Okay. More plainly put, she had made up her mind to kill him. Though Sojiro was somewhat flattered at how she was grossly inflating his importance in all this, what dawned on him was the fact that, through karmic irony, Toko had inevitably arrived at the same conclusion as her sister. Yeah. He's not gonna go down without a fight though, huh? However, this was no time for idle thoughts. Sojiro readied himself to stand up from the sofa in such a way as to not draw attention to the plan so clearly written all over his face. Make a run for it.
バカ者。こういう時は半端に動くな。逃げるならさっさと逃げる。交渉するならテコでも動くな。
Thanks for the advice, I guess.
なんというか、そんな風に動かれると、その気がなくともつい反応してしまうだろう。ほら、命が惜しいのなら、おとなしく固まっていなさい。
殺さないんですか？
Not yet.
今のところはね。私は君が気に入ったし。
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad you like him, or else whatever perspective you want to talk about it in.
いや、違うな。正しくはこう。私ぐらいしか君を救ってあげられないのかも。かな。
Okay. Sure.
はい。
She looked the perplexed Sojiro straight in the eyes. Though actually brown, her eyes gleamed a piercing red, like the edge of a blade. Like the edge of... With that, we did not see that in Kara no Kyokai, did we? That's new. It was at this moment an overwhelming sense of dizziness overcame Sojiro. His mind went numb, like he couldn't tell who he was, as if he was drifting into a sinister sleep from which he would never wake. Sojiro clenched his jaw, desperate to maintain consciousness. Toko's eyes devoured him like a bottomless pit of quicksand. And in that moment, it all became clear to him. It no longer mattered that she was Aoko's sister, or that she was Alice's sworn enemy. Aozaki Toko's deadly battle with the girls had become his battle. Which is why, when you find yourself feeling a special spark for a stranger met mere moments ago, that feeling is not to be trusted. For you may simply be attempting to fill an emptiness with the same mold as yours, with more emptiness. Sojiro tried to drag his body away from this, heretofore unencountered sense of danger, but found that it would not respond. Toko tilted her head forward at him, eyes fixated on his.
君の思う通り、私は君と似たところがある。それとも君が私に近いのかな。何？食べ物の好き嫌い程度の類似だが、軽視することでもない。問題は、君が私より偏っているということでね。
Is he? Biased. She clearly used a different definition of the word than the one Sojiro knew. Biased. It meant that he was alone, that he was an outsider who didn't belong in this town. A sudden and seething anger eclipsed his gentle heart. Is Sojiro angry?
俺、一人じゃないですけど。
Sojiro shot back with all the enmity he could muster. As he faced this witch named Aozaki Toko. If he had not, he feared he would never escape her gaze.
だろうな。だからこそ君は偏っているんだ。早くそれに気づきなさい。一番手っ取り早い解決は、それでいいんだと認めることだ。人間なんてたくましいもんでね。別に何もかも放り投げてもうまくいくものなのさ。けれど、青子にはそれは許せない。あれは他人であれ、 あらゆることを許さない人間だからな。
Toko leaned over the table. She reached out, grabbed Sojiro's collar and roughly pulled him toward her.
いや、そんなことはいいんだ。ただ純粋に私は君が欲しいと思った。君が自分の名前すら定かではないと名乗った時にね。
In what way?
自分の認識が不明で自分自身が不能と感じる。未来というものがとても自分に関わりのあることとは思えない。となれば必然心情は過去への逆行を試みる。しかし所詮ソアの前のモアのように正常な流れの前には時間旅行は押し戻されてしまう。それも私にあって君にあるものだ。ああ、なんて無様な私、なんて哀れな。
Toko trailed off mid-sentence. As she pulled Sojiro closer, her own eyes reflected in his. She noticed the merciful expression on her face. Sojiro got to thinking. He had no hostility toward this woman. He bore her no grudge, harbored no desire to kill her. He was aware only of his anger and aimless compassion. He wished that he could give her the answers she wanted. But
あなたの言っていることはよくわからない。
Sojiro replied apologetically. A verbal reply to the visible question he perceived in her eyes. Toko showed no sign of disappointment. Instead, the corners of her lips turned upward in delight.
そうか。君には言葉の暗示は通じないんだな。意味深なセリフ回しで丸飲みにしてやろうとも思ったが、いや失敗。小綺麗な建前は逆効果だった。君にはむき出しの原始的な語りの方が良かったんだな。
Please.
いいよ。ますます気に入った。
Okay. Thanks. Her fingers dug into his throat as if she were tearing at the leather. Perhaps it could be hers if only she could rip it off.
少年、青子なぞより私のもとに来い。
I think you're misunderstanding the relationship they have. A little bit.
使い道はないが保護ぐらいはしてやろう。手が空いた時なら気晴らしに愛してやってみよう。
Like what kind of plaything? The stick your puppets on us to like torture us, or like plaything? Like what are we talking about here? It had taken many approaches, but she seemed to have decided on this one. The lengths to which she went to seduce him were not lost on Sojiro, and truth be told, they were not wholly unwelcome. Oh? But back to the matter at hand. I mean, okay, to be fair, she is attractive. Like, I can't blame him for them not being wholly unwelcome. But yeah, just...
それはお断りします。
Sojiro chose the direct response as he did.
なぜ？
だってあなたのためにならない。
He had confidence in that at least. Toko's overestimation of him aside, Sojiro knew for a fact that he had to escape this woman's clutches. This tete-a-tete could only be concluded by one of its two participants, Toko, or the individual she was currently infatuated with. On a hunch, the boy mustered all the conviction he could feign. She gently removed her hand from his collar and jabbed him in the chest, causing him to topple back onto the sofa.
そうか。なら仕方がない。君も青子の大切な持ち物として考えることにしよう。
The scarred red mage quietly stood up.
青子が帰ってくる頃だから私は行くよ。青子では私には勝てないとだけ伝えておいてくれればいい。
それはいいんですけど。
Sojo's reply from the sofa stopped the exiting Toko in her tracks. Then, like a student humbly inquiring of a teacher, Sojo pointed to the object in Toko's hand and asked,
そのカップどうするんです？
She's taking Aoko's property. Surprised, she looked down at the teacup in her right hand that she'd forgotten she was holding. She hadn't even realized that she'd been holding the cup the entire time.
これ？せっかくだからもらっていく。
The act of taking something without the owner's permission is commonly referred to as theft. Yeah? However, this was more likely the typical relationship between Aoko and Toko. Share and share alike and so forth. Sojo nodded to show that he understood. Unsure if his nod was sincere or not, Toko smiled that gleeful grin for the second time since taking her glasses off.
やはり変わり種だね、君は。逸材かどうかは別の話だが。
You can say that again. For just a moment, she had returned to the affable Awazaki Toko he met before the glasses came off. Leaving him with the image of her smile, she departed the mansion. Her broken glasses remained sitting on the drawing room table. Oh, you just come home like, home. Yeah, like Sojo didn't just get like threatened. No sooner had the eerie visitor left did Aoko and Alice return home. Despite Aoko's sour mood, she seemed as merry as ever. Despite everything that had happened and their trip having its fair share of problems, she still had fun. That was good. Whereas Alice was her usual stoic self, with the forearm not unlike a parent following behind a rampaging toddler, cleaning up their mess. The scene of their return was something like out of a TV sitcom, and lost in thought, Sojo forgot to greet them.
Sojuro, 留守中何かあった?
Yeah, you can say that. Aoko asked, more so out of etiquette than curiosity, while removing her coat. Without answering, he stood up from the sofa.
そりゃ半日分の出来事はあったけど、それより寒かっただろう。お茶を入れようか。
ああ、お願い。こっちも一から作戦練り上げようってとこだから。
Yeah, Sojiro, are you not gonna mention Toko at all? Or are you waiting? Are you waiting for them to like be sat down with tea before you say something? Like what's going on here? Sojo was on his way to the kitchen to prepare tea even before Aoko had finished an upbeat response. He was following his same tea brewing routine as always, but somehow something didn't feel the same. As though in a trance, Sojo returned to the drawing room where they were settling down and placed the tea on the table.
これからどうするつもりなの？青子。とりあえず足で探すしかないわね。あいつ相手に守りに入るのは良くない。こっちが城壁を作ってる間に一個師団の人形をこさえかねないわ。
They conversed with each other, while ignoring Sojo's presence. Upon hearing what they said, he stood up and spoke abruptly.
探すって、トウコさんを
You did not just open with that, Sojiro. You didn't, you know, no way.
それ以外誰を探すって。ちょっと、あんた、今なんて言ったの？
Yeah, about that.
トウコさんなんだろ、青崎たちの敵は。さっきまでここにいたよ。
He answered so casually. Aoko's standing there dumbfounded. Alice stood up from the sofa and went to where the two of them were standing. Her typically kind and somber features turned reproachable.
しずきくん、その人、何かしていった？
お茶を飲んで、メガネを外して帰っていっただけだけど。あれ、よく思い出せないな。
What was once a clear memory seemed to have been scrubbed clean from his mind. Sojiro was overcome by the same dizziness he felt before. A sharp, dry smack echoed through the room. What snapped him out of his haze was an unexpected slap from Alice.
二度は言わないわ。他人を私の家に立ち入らせないで。
I mean, he didn't really have a choice. Deep within her eyes, beyond the normal cool indifference, was an intense fury. Realizing, however, that it was no ordinary anger, Sojiro understood how careless he had been.
すまない。アリスにとってここが大事な場所なのは分かってたのに。
Heavy silence followed. Both Sojiro and Alice stood there, chained to the spot by their own regret. Aoko looked on in amazement, wondering if they would stay this way all night if left alone.
あのね、姉貴を通した宗十郎も悪いけど、言ってなかったアリスも悪いでしょ。子供じゃないんだから、いつまでも反省してないで、もっと前向きに話をしない？
Alice hung her head and sat back down at Aoko's insistence. Sojiro stood where he was, nursing his stinging right cheek. Pain was pain, but he knew how to take a knock. More to the point, the crisp strike from Alice snapped him out of his fog, jogging his memory.
思い出した。青子じゃ私には勝てないって伝えておいてほしいって。
大した自信ね。他には？
他は基本的に世間話だったというか、あ、ソアとかモアとかよくわからないことを口にしてたな。
Fair. Considering the small talk was mostly about Aoko and her flaws, Sojiro decided it would be better to take that part to his grave.
大河とショウガ？あの人、インドにでも行ってたのかしら。ところで宗十郎、あんた、姉貴に何かされたわね。
Yeah. Aoko turned to him, glaring at him sharply. He had nothing to be ashamed of, but he looked away guiltily anyway.
何かって何さ？
思い出せないとか言ってたでしょ。さっきまでの態度もふわふわしてたし。そうか、メガネを外したまでは覚えてたってことは魔眼にでも見入られたか。
As quickly as she had jumped to that conclusion, Aoko went quiet again, as if the information was of little importance. But it wasn't enough to detract Sojiro from bringing it up again.
青崎、魔眼ってなんだ？
Oh god. We've had this... I'm pretty sure we've had this explanation in... Yeah, Fate, Suki... I don't know if... were Mystic Eyes, like, in depth explained in Kara no Kyokai? I don't remember. But... either way, it's like... we've had this talk so many times.
魔力を帯びた目のことよ。簡単なものは一時的な混乱を、 上級なものは睨んだだけで相手を殺すとかね。ま、バロールみたいな魔眼の持ち主なんて伝説だけだろうし、そもそもそんな魔眼持ちが生まれてくるなら私たちの悩みもあっさり終わるってものだけど。
He has no idea who that is or what that is. Without further context, Aoko knew her explanation was completely lost on Sojiro. Please don't give us the full explanation, please God.
そうね。わかりやすく言うと、私の魔弾みたいなのを目から照射するようなもんよ。
目から青崎か。
No. Maybe. Sojiro's confusion deepened along with Aoko's frustration.
だから、あなた、一度目を閉じた後のトーコの目を見たんでしょ？その一瞬で姉貴の魔眼に捕まったってこと。目を猫名詞に入れ替える魔術師もいるけど、姉貴はそんなことする必要はないから。あの人、生まれながらの魔眼持ちだしね。さしたる準備も栄唱もなしで、シャッターするだけで切り替え自由なの。
So OP. Sojiro pounded his fist in understanding. Now he thought about it. He vaguely remembered her doing something exactly like that. Everything after was foggy and muddled, and her mystic eyes seemed the only logical cause.
その話は分かったけど、トウコさんは青崎のお姉さんなんだろ？なんで姉妹で殺し合いをしてるんだ？
He knew it wasn't something he should ask, but he did it anyway. The question was against the rules. He had no business being involved in this dispute. Well, I mean, he kind of does now. Aoko closed her eyes to collect her thoughts. She decided it was best for all involved to at least share some background information, if only to head off further questions.
いいわ、話してあげる。姉貴に関わった以上、事情を説明しておかないと危ないし。けど、なんであれ聞き返すのはなしね。この件に関しては、私は私の事情を話すだけだから。
Yes, ma'am. She stared down Sojiro until he nodded slowly in recognition. Knowing him, she knew this was confirmation enough. Is he gonna remember and tell them about the fact that she was like, I want you? Like, is he just not gonna mention that, or I guess they don't really need to know, but you know. The conversation was becoming oddly friendly again, but Aoko sat up a little straighter. She prepared to tell the tale.
姉貴の話をするってことは、私と青崎の家の話と、何より魔術と魔法の話をしないといけない。少し遠回りになるし、他言無用な内容だけど、いずれあんたの記憶は消えるから問題ないってことで。
Aoko made sure to add that disclaimer as a condition for telling him the information in the first place.
魔術っていうのはね、宗十郎、いわば共通のルールなのよ。ルーンやカバラといった魔術系統はそれぞれの科目、世界共通のマニュアルだと思えばいい。教科書さえきちんと持っているのなら、あとは血脈次第で誰でも魔術師にはなれるわ。けど魔法を使うのは別。魔法は魔術みたいに根源の渦から派生した写本じゃなくて、根源の渦に直接つながるものだから。この根源の渦っていうのは、宗十郎の分かるレベルに落とし込むと、まあ太陽みたいなものと考えて。遠くにあって何より初めにあるもので、それなくしては私たちは生活できないといった。魔術っていうのはこの太陽からの恩恵を利用しただけのものよ。
Also, Aoko did not seem like she was pleased with this way of explaining.
自然現象の模倣ないし代償が魔術の本質だから。神秘を学び実践し再現するけど、神秘そのものを作ることはできない。いえ、研究の末にたどり着くんでしょうけど、そこには大きな壁がある。人知では越えられない リミッターみたいな壁がね。で、魔法っていうのは太陽そのものを扱うこと。誰にも到達できない場所に行って何者にも真似できない奇跡を起こす。お金をかけようが時間をかけようが今の人類には到達できない技術、それが魔法。次元の壁を越えるっていうか、最後まで走ってみたら全く違うルールでできた世界があって、そのルールを学んじゃったってとこかしら。前に魔術に限界はないって言ったでしょ。あれは人知の及ぶ範囲なら限界はないって意味ね。対して魔法は限界だらけっていうか、一つのことしかできないけどそれも当然なの。だってこの宇宙の仕組みから仲間外れの一つっきりの交点なんだから。
Okay.
魔術より魔法の方がすごいというのは流れ的にわかるんだけど、限界だらけなんだよな。
Yeah.
限界っていうか特例、特権、越権の類ね。汎用性はないけど誰にもできないことを可能とする時点で魔術世界にとっては万能とされる。そもそも魔法は根源の渦にたどり着いた魔術師へのご褒美みたいなもので、たとえその術者に魔法を使うだけの肉体性能がなくても根源へのパスができただけで魔術的にはやりたい放題ってわけ。要は地球で一番のお金持ちになるってこと。
Sojiro made an appreciative sound, impressed. On the other hand, Alice looked as though she wished to make many revisions to Aoko's account.
一番の大金持ちか。じゃあどんなにお金持ちでも一番目でない以上は魔法はもらえないんだな。
Well, the richest, what, like five people? Like
まあ
how
そうい
many
うこと。
are there?
時々とんでもない角度で確信をつくわねこいつ。あんたの言う通り、同じルート同じ方法で根源にたどり着いても一番目じゃないと魔法にはたどり着けない。どんなに優れていても2番目以降には意味がないのよ。
Okay.
魔法使いが5人、いえ4人か。
Okay, why'd you revise it?
現存する魔法使いが4人しかいないのは一度使われたルートは閉ざされてしまうから。大昔はそうでもなかったって話だけどね。根源への道、真理への到達に壁を作ったのは皮肉なことに人間自身だった。未知を解明すればするほどルートが閉じていくなんて昔の魔術師たちは思いもしなかったんでしょう。でも結果はこの通り。気がついた時には後の祭りっていうか、多くの計算の末この世から魔法は消えていっちゃったわけ。
それは山と町の関係に似てると思っていいのかな。
Yeah. Hey, yeah, you can kind of compare it like that.
ミクロな視点で言うなら似たようなものよ。で、つい最近まで現代の魔術師たちは残された最後の席を求めていたけど、それもちょっと前にどこぞの田舎者が横取りしちゃって椅子取りゲームはあえなく終了。
Is that Bumpkin your sister?
あとは魔法抜きで根源にたどり着くため地味で無意味な魔術の研究を続けることになった。もともと魔法なんてのを優先してたのは一部の魔術師だけで、他の真っ当な連中はとっくに見切りをつけてたんだけどね。
Uh-huh.
だって魔術師にとって最終目的は根源の渦への到達であって魔法じゃないし。そのあたりいつの間にかごっちゃになっちゃったんでしょ。卵が先か鶏が先かって話。
よし、全くわからないってことは分かったんで、そろそろ本題に入ってくれ。あ、けど一番目の人間しか魔法使いになれないのに、魔法使いは何人もいるのか？
Because there's different kinds of true magic, right?
5人いたわ。最終的に 人間に残される最後の課題は5つだろうって一番初めの。青子。じゃあ本題ね。魔法と魔術の関係が分かったところでようやくうちの話になるんだけど、青崎の家が代々魔術師だったのは前に言ったでしょ。歴史的には浅いけど運と才能には恵まれていたのね。青崎はなんだかんだって魔法にまでたどり着いたんだから。
ちょっと待った。じゃあ青崎がその。
私はあくまで魔術師見習い。使えないし使う気もないわよ、魔法なんて。私はただ青崎の家を継いだだけだもの。
Aoko asserted obtusely, her voice devoid of emotion. She became a mage not to wield magic, but simply because the succession of her family's magecraft was forced on her.
とにかく根源の渦にたどり着くには何代も何代も魔術を研究しなくちゃいけない。自分独自の皮を作るようなものなんだから、もちろんその過程は果てがない。よほどの天賦か典型でもない限り魔法を作るなんてできないしね。そしてもし根源にたどり着いてもふさわしい後継者がいなければ一代限りの奇跡で終わってしまう。だから魔術師は血脈を重ねて代々の魔力を時代に積み重ねていく。自分より優れた後継者を生むために。
Aoko wrapped up the explanation by remarking that it was like producing a thoroughbred. Not that Sojiro knew what a thoroughbred was to begin with, leaving him as perplexed at the end of the story as he was at the beginning.
そうやって代を重ねて魔術師は作り上げた独自の神秘、守り続けた魔術を次の世代に伝えていくの。きっと最後の最後に全ての疑問を打ち消すに足る答えがあるはずだって。でも魔術師、いえ魔法使いだってみんな悟ってるのよ。自分の代でもその次の代でもきっと最後の最後の最後まで誰もゴールにはたどり着けないって結末を。それを分かっていながら魔術を研究していくのが神秘学に取りつかれた者の宿命だって祖父はよく口にしてた。けど私の姉はそうじゃなかったみたい。
She left, I can see why, hanging in the air. Alice had no response. The Awazaki family passing down true magic. Aoko, the reluctant successor. And Toko Awazaki, her elder sister.
本当は青崎の後継者は姉貴だった。私もうちの家業が何であるかは教えられてきたけど実践することはなかったのよ。魔術師の家系はよっぽど裕福でもない限り基本的に一子相伝だからね。うちほんと財力的には一般家庭レベルだし。で後継者にはより魔術に適したものが選ばれるわけだけど、姉貴は確かに天才だった。けどそれは青崎の後継者にはいらない才能だった。その代わり私は心底青崎の後継者としてふさわしかったみたい。まあそれはそれでどうも思わないけど、祖父がはっきりと私にくら替えしたのが15歳の冬の頃でさ。姉貴はいきなり4つ年下で今まで魔術に関わってなかった妹に魔法の相続権利を奪われたってわけよ。
Yeah, no, that makes sense why she... Again, I'm pretty sure Toko is the one who hates Aoko, right? If I recall correctly. So, yeah, that makes sense.
そうか、それで。
Toko's words from not moments ago, her voice full of resentment as she spoke them.
あの人がどんな思いをしたか私は本人じゃないから知らないけど。
Sojiro, now is when you should speak up.
祖父と言い争って今まで愛用してたメガネを叩き壊して家を出て行ったのが3年と半年前。それから全く消息なしで私は姉の代わりになったの。これが私と姉貴の争う原因でしょうね。
Sojiro thought the story was tragic, but Aoko's voice had a tone of relief in it. Sojiro did not know exactly who he should feel bad for anymore.
メガネを壊したか。
そう。あの人、昔はすっごく目が良かった。生まれながら魔眼を持ってたって化け物だからね。
Wow. I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted Aoko, but it's just the bitch was even born with mystic eyes. Like, okay.
けど、祖父の期待に応えようとして、無理して頑張った挙句、視力が下がっちゃったみたい。
Aoko wrestled with the memory, not sure if she had everything down exactly right. Sojiro knew how well Aoko could hide her emotions, and this was not one of those moments.
けど、あれに何の意味があったんだろう。メガネをジジイに叩きつけるぐらいなら、フィンの一撃でも叩き込めばよかったのに。あの人、あの頃が才能のピークだったんだし、猛録したジジイなんて、それこそ一撃だったと思うんだけど。
Maybe she still cared? I don't know. Sojiro shook his head, disappointed at Aoko's misjudgment of the situation.
恨みつらみの話じゃない。そのメガネは大事なものだったんだ。だってそれは誰にだってわかる努力の証なんだから。それを叩きつけたんだ。痛かったんだろうな、トウコさんは。思い出を自分で壊さなくちゃいけないくらいに。
As Sojiro spoke, neither Aoko nor Alice noticed the grief he was fighting to hold in. Or more accurately, they could not understand his point of view. After all, in a world where mages are raised to fight other mages, empathy was in short supply.
けど、どうして今頃になって戻ってきたのかしら。青子の言う通り、トウコさんならもっと早く美咲氏を奪えたのに。
そうね。そんなに土地が欲しかったのなら、3年前に私を殺せば後継者に戻れたのに。
Good point.
世間の荒波に揉まれて気が変わったとか？
違う。青崎は本当にわからないのか。
Sojiro shook with a faint anger. His voice changed from the boy they thought they knew.
何よ、あんたならわかるっていうの？
Yeah, apparently.
誰だってわかる。トウコさんは青崎が一人前になるまで待っていたんだ。自分が失ったものと同じくらい大切なものをなくさせるために。そうしないとどうにもならない。そこまでしなくちゃいけないほどあの人の怒りは深かったんだ。
Sojiro gazed at them, wondering why they could not see what he could. Only, he was the one that did not understand. The two girls, and above all, Toko Awazaki, deny themselves the type of relationships that other normal people are allowed to experience. Toko's actions were not fueled by hatred. While there certainly was hatred behind them, the real reason was, and always has been, Toko's pursuit of true magic. She was an ambitious and talented mage. Her hatred was only her veneer. Thinking of her in any other way would be an insult to the elder sister who devoted her life to the study of magecraft. All of this Aoko wanted to tell Sojiro, but instead stopped herself. Even if she had, Sojiro was not a mage and could never understand. And besides, arguing with him any further would not have brought her any joy. She could not have put it into words even if she tried. And so...
やけに姉貴の肩を持つじゃない宗十郎。もしかして一目惚れでもした？
Maybe. She was very... In her own cowardly way, Aoko dodged the subject. She smirked childishly.
肩ぐらい持つ。あの人はかわいそうな人だからな。
That's a bad choice of words. I feel like Aoko's gonna get pissed. Sojiro did not take the bait. Aoko was frustrated at his reply.
なぜ？
An icy glare replaced her smile. He did not falter, only plainly stating,
だって実の妹と争わなくちゃいけないんだろ。それはかわいそうなことじゃないのか？
This was the source of his frustration.
確かにね。
Aoko's eyes narrowed unconsciously, as if hiding from a painful truth. This guy is a poison, she thought to herself. A poison with no antidote. With his words, he was unwittingly bringing her weakness to light.
だけど私も姉貴もそれを何とも思ってないのよ。
Are you sure about that?
だってそれ以外に解決策はないんだから。
Sojiro looked down and frowned in defeat. And that's sad too, he muttered. I don't get why he didn't bring up the whole, like, talk of her wanting her, like, Aoko's property. I guess he kind of did. I meant more in the sense of, like, him specifically. But I guess, again, at the same time, what would that accomplish, right? The curtain of night had already fallen. Not even an hour had passed since Toko left the estate, and Sojiro was feeling the distance between him and the girls. Aoko and Alice felt much the same way about Toko Awazaki, who seemed more elusive than a phantom.
とにかく姉貴が敵だってことは宗十郎にも分かったでしょ。ならつべこべ言わず君子危うきに近寄らずよ。まあ姉貴もあんたと会って私たちとは全くの無関係だって分かっただろうから、そっちには手を出してこないでしょうけど。
I don't know about that. Aoko seemed absolutely certain in her assessment, as if to proclaim that Sojiro had dodged a bullet. Strangely, she was placing her trust in her enemy's sense of reason.
そうかな。そうなのかな。そうだといいんだけどな。
そうだから安心なさい。昔からいらないものには手を出さないんだから、あの人は。
Sojiro, you might want to speak up now.
そっか。青崎がそこまで言うなら安心する。
No, Sojiro, tell them what...
あ、いらないものって言えば、トウコさんが青崎のティーカップをもらうって、セーブルのやつ。ちょ
っと待って。あんた、それを黙って見てたっていうの？
What do you want him to do?
そうだけど、やっぱりあれは奪っていったのか。
Sojiro nodded sagely while Aoko fumed. She wondered where his serious manner and tone had gone. Sojiro's frustrating absent-mindedness had returned.
しかもセーブルのカップって私の一番のお気に入り。
Yeah, pretty unfortunate for you. Aoko's fist trembled violently, but as much as she wanted to, she knew better than to plant it into Sojiro's carefree face. Not that he was even capable. But even if Sojiro did try to stop Toko, it would have gone tragically for him. Yeah.
仕方ないか。そういえばあの人、よく私の持ち物を奪っていったっけ。他人のものを欲しがる癖、まだ治ってないんだ。
Okay, Sojiro, are you gonna speak up now? Like, oh yeah, she wanted to take me too. But
子供の頃はみんなそうなんじゃないのか？
そうかな。私のクレヨンとか人形とか取っても仕方ないと思うけど、どうせ粉々にしちゃうんだし。
Sojiro felt his heart jump into his mouth. The ominous foreshadowing was not lost on him.
それはどういう？
だから、あの人って私の持ち物を横取りしてはぶっ壊すのが趣味なのよ。苦節14年。姉貴に目をつけられて無事だったものなんて一つもないもの。
Sojiro, speak up, buddy. Listening to Aoko, Sojiro recalled his conversation with Toko. He hoped he was imagining it, but he vaguely recalled her declaring Sojiro Shizuki as someone's property.
それはちょっと難儀だな。
Sojiro's face turned grim, not unlike a detective at the scene of a crime. A scene which left no traces of evidence or clues as to how the case could be solved.
でしょ？ひどい姉貴なのよ、あの人って。
Unaware of Sojiro's turmoil, Aoko calmly sipped her tea. Sojiro watched as Aoko shrugged her shoulders before looking to the drawing room clock. No matter how heavy the mood, time kept on ticking.
明日から大変になるね。
Yeah, muttered the undeniable victim of today's injustices. Aoko looked ready to move on from the incident, adding,
そうね。でも今は、そんなことより今日の夕飯のが楽しみなんだ、私。
glance. Alice seemed to second that opinion with her silence. Comfortable and relaxed, neither of them seemed to have any intention of leaving the sofa to prepare food. Didn't he give you money to get dinner? Or maybe it was for lunch. I don't know. Tonight was supposed to be his night off from work. At least until midnight. But Sojiro knew until the clock struck midnight, he would be serving on hand and foot the two ladies of the house. For one, it would take at least another hour to prepare something to eat. And there was no way the exhausted Aoko and Alice would stand for that, so the only other option, in the end, was to have something delivered.
なんと、トウコさんについていけばよかったかもしれないな。
Maybe. Sojiro opened his wallet as he second-guessed his situation. His eyes settled on a third and final 10,000 yen bill in his wallet. It stared back at him forlornly, reluctant to leave its home. With a heavy heart, he bid it farewell. Goodbye, 10,000 yen. Goodbye. Oh, that was it. I mean, I guess that was altogether like 2.5 hours. A little more. Yeah, okay. Well, with that, that's gonna do it. I didn't intend to do over 2 hours of recording today. It'll probably be split into 2 different videos, but I didn't intend to do that. It just happened because I didn't really see a point that I felt was good to stop at. So, also that kind of the whole part with Aoko explaining things, I didn't really talk much because I was kind of trying to absorb. But yeah, anyway, that's gonna do it. Next time we will start chapter 10, Howling, which honestly I don't know what that has to do with anything. To be honest, like, will Toko make puppets of dogs? Does Alice have ploy kickshaws of of dogs that have dog form anyway. I don't know. We shall see. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll catch y'all next time for chapter 10. Later.